Hi, good people of the Green. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of June. Have you ever been troubled by past sins? Things that you've done in the past that perhaps come back to haunt you, and you think, how could God use me now because of what I've done in the past? Or you've been troubled by something that you've done recently, and you think, how can God use me now that I've done this, or now that my reputation is ruined? Or perhaps from years and years ago, things still haunt you and make you feel unworthy or dirty. Well, I want to show you something from the Old Testament and the New Testament that completely comes against those kind of thoughts and actually says that that's a lie, that there's nothing that God will not forgive and does not forgive, that actually he wants to forgive. And we read this in the story of King Manasseh. Now, 2 Chronicles chapter 32 says Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king. Now, that is a young age, isn't it, to become king? So I'm guessing he had his advisors. And I think in somewhere else it tells that his mum, one of the king's mums, was his advisor as well. So as a 12-year-old, you get lots of advice. And probably our Prime Minister and Queen get lots of advice now. So it's not just their thoughts and influence that actually has an impact on our country. And so King Manasseh at 12 years old became king, and it looks like he had very bad advice, because it says here, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years, so it was a long reign. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. He rebuilt the high places his father Hezekiah had demolished. So Hezekiah was a good king, and he wiped out pretty much all of the idolatry and the evil things going on. And here we have Manasseh actually rebuilding all those negative idolatrous things that his dad had ripped down. He also erected altars to the Baals and made Asherah poles. He bowed down to all the starry hosts and worshipped them. He built altars in the temple of the Lord, of which the Lord has said, "My name will remain in Jerusalem forever." In both courts of the temple of the Lord, he built altars to all the starry hosts. He sacrificed his sons in the fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom. He sacrificed his own children to these gods. I'm sure you perhaps haven't gone that far, but he goes even further. He practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger. He took the carved image he had made and put it in God's temple. Can you think of anything more insulting than that? Of which God has said to Solomon and to David, in this temple in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. It then goes on to say, but Manasseh led Judah and the people of Jerusalem astray. So not only was King Manasseh leading himself astray and worshipping all these other idols and sacrificing his own children and doing all these detestable things, he led all the people astray to do the same things as him. So it's not just a case of he's sinning against God and against himself. He's causing other people, hundreds and thousands, millions of people, to do the same. They did more evil than the nations the Lord had destroyed before the Israelites. The Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they paid no attention. You know, it might be that when we committed our grievous sins, that actually God was speaking to us at the same, a bit like when Cain murdered Abel, that God said to him, Cain, why are you angry? Why are you downcast? You know you don't have to do this. You can do the right thing. Sin is crouching behind the door to have you, but you must master it. So God does speak to us during our sins, but if we carry on sinning, does that mean he gives up on us? No, this is what happened. So the Lord brought against them the army of the commanders of the king of Assyria, who took Manasseh prisoner, put a hook in his nose, bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babylon. In his distress, King Manasseh sought favour of the Lord his God, and humbled himself greatly before the God of his fathers. And God said, tough, mate. No, he said, in his distress, he sought favour of the Lord and humbled himself greatly before God of his fathers. And when he prayed to him, the Lord was moved by his entreaty and listened to his plea. Wow. So he brought him back to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord is God. Afterward, King Manasseh rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David. He also made it much higher. He stationed military commanders in all the fortified cities of Judah. He got rid of the foreign gods and removed the image from the temple of the Lord, as well as all the altars he had built on the temple hill and in Jerusalem, and he threw them out of the city. Then he restored the altar of the Lord and sacrificed fellowship offerings and thank offerings on it. And he told Judah to serve the Lord, the God of Israel. What a turnaround. After all those years of evil, he cried out to God. God heard his plea and changed his situation. And it sounded like it transformed King Manasseh's life as well and the life of the people. Now, let's read in Hebrews 9, verse 14. This is for you. How much more then will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself unblemished to God, cleanse our consciences from acts that lead to death, so that we may serve the living God? That's your truth today. How much more has Jesus' blood cleansed you, that you may serve the living God? God bless you.